So I wanted to wait a little bit before I had made this video, and I feel like I can talk about it now. So I was a chaplain for two organizations. I still am one, super part-time. But there came a point in time where I needed to step away from full-time ministry. And the reason why I wanted to take my time before I made this video is I wanted to make sure I articulated it correctly. So there's different conversations that I've had about it with several different people. And I feel like, okay, I've finally, can articulate it in a way that it doesn't encourage people or feed the idea of like, this is why people leave church, because that's not what I did. I didn't say that I left church. I left full-time ministry jobs is what I left. And I want to be clear on what that means, what that does not mean, so that it doesn't encourage those who, when you have bad experiences with fellow Christians or churches or ministry organizations, that you don't make the decision to now completely walk away from Christ, or to completely walk away from your faith due to the misrepresentation that others can display, or just hurt feelings that come with, dealing with people who call themselves Christians and proclaim to be Christians, and you get hurt, and have bad experiences, and now you reflect that on, or feel like that's a reflection of Christ when it's not, and just understanding that when you can separate the two, that this is a person that proclaims to be a Christ follower, and this is Christ himself, and that they aren't necessarily together. Just because you have a bad experience over here doesn't mean you had a bad experience with Jesus. You had a bad experience with somebody who says that they follow Jesus, and there's a big difference. So that being said, I still am currently, my husband and I are both still ministers at our church. And again, like I said, I still am a super part-time chaplain with Marketplace Chaplains right now. But I had just two kind of back-to-back organization situations, or working in Christian organizations, where I had two situations where it was just like, okay, it's time for me to just kind of take a break. And I really feel like it came from one, I was in seminary, and as soon as I graduated, I was looking for a chaplaincy job. And I'll admit that there's a joke that seminary is called cemetery because it's where you go and your faith dies. And at first when I would hear that joke, I was like, I don't get it. And now I get it. My faith did not die. If you don't have, a true relationship with Christ, or actually know Jesus for yourself, I can see how, if you're truly just, if being a Christian for you has truly just been the actions of being a Christian and there's no actual relationship with Jesus, I can see how seminary can kind of like ruffle your feathers and ruffle your faith up a little bit, because you go and you learn a lot of things that kind of shake up traditions maybe that you're used to, and you learn all this different history, you learn all these different things. That is good stuff. I think that we as Christians all should know what I learned in seminary. And personally, I don't think that the stuff that I learned I should have had to pay for, to be honest with you. I think I should have been learning this from my local church in general. And I'm not just speaking about the church I'm at. I'm saying in general, the things that people that pay to go to school, theologians that pay to go to school, or for my degree, Master of Divinity, there's a lot of things within that I'm like, churches should be teaching this in general. We should not be having to pay to learn this stuff. This is what Christians all around the world should be equipped with, to know about their faith and how to defend your faith and how to articulate with people who don't believe what you believe, and to know your faith and to know the history of Christianity and everything. Know how to study your Bible, and how do you how do you keep the Bible in the context but also apply it to today? Like, that's all the stuff that I was learning in seminary, that I'm like, everybody should be learning this. That's Christ followers. Like, we all should be equipped to do this. But after being in seminary, it kind of turned my whole view on how we do church in general. Of, again, like I said, why am I not learning this at church? Like, when I go to church, I should be getting equipped, not being entertained. We shouldn't be going to church to be getting entertained. We shouldn't be going to church simply to mark it off on our list of this is what we do as Christians. Like, we should be going to church getting equipped as Christians to all be ministers, to all be disciples that create disciples. That's where we should be going to learn and being, but also, being uplifted and finding our healing there within Christ and all of that together. So it's not saying like church should just be like school, but all of it should be together and not just one. But especially, we're not going there to be entertained. You should be going there to get something, whether for you or to share with somebody else. And I felt like after seminary, I'm like, what are we doing as a church? It was like a frustration of we should be doing better. Not I should walk away from Christ or walk away from being a Christian, but just how can we do better? And I feel like with all of that information, I jumped into ministry without giving myself time to like really soak in that. And as I had the opportunity to go to one organization, and I'm not saying either one of the organization's names, because this isn't meant to bash or make any ill comments or any ill attention to them in any way. This is just my personal experiences that partially is things that I should have dealt with before I went into these organizations, and partially things within these organizations that they could do better themselves. So the first organization that I went into, behind the scenes, like, we were there to serve a specific group of demographic of people, and behind the scenes, though, it was just like catty drama. And for me, I'm like, if I wanted to deal with catty drama, I could have just got a job in a secular world. And that really kind of like got to me of like, what are we really doing? Again, with me already having like these emotions towards like how we're doing church and how just as Christians that we are being equipped, and some of us not even wanting to be equipped. We just want to go in and do our check mark. But all of these thoughts are already like kind of settling with me. But then I go into that and I'm like, I just want to do Christ. I want to be Christ's hands and his feet, and I want to do his work. Like, that's all I want to do. I don't want to be behind the scenes doing catty drama amongst each other. Like, we should be able to be mature enough to, have conversations and just do this job differently. So I kind of, on top of, was just not happy with the role that I was in. And so I started looking and ended up going to another organization. And very quickly within that organization, some things happened that caused me to feel like, what happened to if I have a, issue with my brother or sister, I go to them and I talk to them, not this whole go behind the scenes and make reports, and all these different, conversations are happening behind your back instead of being talked to about it as a person that's new to the organization, not knowing, okay, well, I didn't know that wasn't supposed to be done like that. And I see this person doing this way that I'm doing, and now I'm being talked to about it. Like, what happened to being able to come and have conversations first? And so overall, I was just kind of starting to get to this point where, I'll be honest, I was tired of people. And so I was like, you know what? I think, like, I'm telling God, I cannot serve people and do what I've been called to do in ministry feeling this way. Like I'm sitting on the edge waiting to be like, okay, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of people. I'm tired. And so at the time, I just said, you know what? I'm going to pray on it. I don't want to make any moves out of my own emotions, because to be truthful, God will put you in positions, and the devil will absolutely send you tests and trials to get you to move out of those positions that God has placed you in. And I knew that. So I said, you know what? If I'm supposed to be here, I will stay. I will get through this trial. I'll get through this situation. I feel like the organization I left before, to come here, I felt like this was a door that was open, but maybe I jumped the gun, or maybe you brought me here to kind of open the eyes of this organization on how things are operating, that they could do better. Maybe that's a short-term reason why I'm supposed to be here. I don't know. Either way, I don't want to move without you telling me to move. So I ended up my husband and I prayed on it. I was like, you know what? Maybe I can come work with you. And if there is an opportunity, I will take it as, okay, this is kind of a door that's allowing me to say, hey, God, I don't want to walk away from doing ministry. I just don't want to be in full-time ministry jobs anymore, because what I'm realizing now that I've stepped away and I am in a non-ministry position, I still do ministry. I've had more Christ-focused conversations with Christians and non-Christians here than I had in the positions that I was in within Christian organizations. Like, I've had the conversations that I've wanted to have about Christ with other people, especially people who don't, really know Christ, or, they say they've been raised Christian and maybe I don't do the church thing or whatever. Like, being able to have those conversations and talk about, doing apologetics, really talking about faith and what does it mean to follow Christ, and how does that look right now, and how do I do that, and how I came to be where I'm at, and how I still am a part-time chaplain, and I still preach, and all of these different things, and being able to be Christ-like in environments that aren't Christ-like, and to stand out differently because of Jesus. Like, I'm able to do that more now than I was before. So, but anyway, so he ended up finding out, yeah, go ahead and apply. And I've worked for this organization, this job before, as actually cleaning carts. So I am a garbage driver now. I pick up yard waste with my husband. He's been there for 5 years, and that's what I do now. But I was working there before when I was pregnant, super part-time. I was working for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and then I would also go clean carts just to bring in some extra money. So they already knew me, and everything just worked out fine. And now, like I said, I'm having more of these conversations with coworkers. I've had conversations with customers, but I've been able to talk about Jesus and more sharing him differently than I was in these other positions. But it was a hard decision to step away from full-time ministry, because that's what I went to school for. I went to school to get my Master of Divinity to be a chaplain. And at first I thought I wanted to be a hospital chaplain, but then I felt God call me to know you need to be a chaplain in situations where people are wanting to change now. They're not necessarily on their deathbeds, which, hey, the hospital chaplains are needed. All I'm saying is I felt God call me in a different direction. And so I did feel guilty of this is what I went to school for. I felt God was calling me to be a chaplain, and now I'm stepping away from this because I'm literally just needing to take a break from Christian ministry organizations, and just people in general. Just kind of stepping away, of just feeling like when I go into a Christian organization, I expect it to be very Christ-centered and Christ-focused. And when it feels like, the people are acting not as Christ-centered or Christ-focused, or feeling like how things are handled aren't quite as Christ-like as you would expect. It's more like what a secular, regular, organization would run things. You just kind of expect that. You don't expect it to be a Christ-like focused in the way they handle situations. You just don't expect that. So you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get that there's drama like this that would happen here because Christ isn't the focus here. I get why conversations like this or why language like this is used in these organizations because they're not Christ-centered. But when you're in a Christ-centered place, you expect it to be Christ-centered. You expect that, not saying that people need to be perfect. That's not at all, because I'm not perfect. All I'm saying is you just have, as a Christian, you kind of hold a higher expectation of love and communication and just not drama in that way. You're going to have, disagreements and stuff like that. You're going to have things. They're people. It's people running an organization. So where you have people, you're going to have errors. You're going to have conflict. But there's a way that Christ calls us to handle those situations. It's a way that Christ calls us to be in those situations. And when you don't see that, and those people don't see how they're not seeing that or not trying to operate in that way, it's very frustrating. So that's why I ended up deciding to take a break. And, I just want to encourage people too, of just realizing that you don't necessarily have to be in a Christian organization or have a ministry title to do ministry. You can do ministry whether you're working at McDonald's, whether you are working in, some secretarial administrative role, in some big high-rise, building. You could be an executive somewhere. You could be a pastor in a church. You can be in a Christian organization. It doesn't matter. Wherever God places you, you can be used. You can still be a minister. We are all, as Christ followers, called to be disciples that create disciples. And you can do that in whatever position that you're called to do. And I'm realizing as I've talked to other, ministers that have also stepped away from, Christian organizations or specifically Christian positions to take a break, of needing a break from people. They've done that, and they've come back and like, okay, now I'm recouped. I'm ready. I'm ready again. And so right now, this is just the season that I'm in. I'm picking up yard waste, and who knows, what opportunity will open up where I will maybe a full-time chaplain again. You never know. And I'm willing to follow Christ wherever he puts me. But right now, that's where I'm at. So, I just wanted to share that as an encouragement to other people, that it's okay to take a break. Don't take a break from Jesus. Take a break from the position that you're in, and ask, how can God, while I'm in this season of taking a break, how can you still use me? How can I still be used? Where can I still be used? And follow that and see where God takes you. And you never know, you never know why he had you where he had you for a long time or a short time. But it is okay to just step away for a minute, but again, not away from him. You don't need to take a break from Jesus. You take a break from the situation or the organization or the role that you're in, and take time to rest and see what it is about yourself that you need to reflect on. Because I definitely reflected on myself too. How could I have been better at these organizations or in these situations? What could I have done better? And what also could they have done better? So that I know, if this ever comes around again, I know how to deal with the situation, or how I can help the organization deal with the situation better, and whatever that looks like. So with that, I leave you with this: pray without ceasing, continue to nurture your family, and continue to train like a war machine.